What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Today is Monday, which means Monday Mail Day. I'm going to get to some questions. I put a thumb up next to the questions I will be answering. I want to say thank you to all the support, all the people who contribute weekly questions this week, people who left donations. It all is going to a good cause, so I can provide you guys with more and more and more. Putting some work in the website, just all around Instagram. And let's get into it. Monday Mail Day. Got some questions. You guys left some good stuff. First question is from Walk With Me. Can we start a hashtag real fan movement of some sort? I'm tired of fights where the A side has 0% chance of winning. I'm sick of fans bickering over PBC versus HBO. I'm sick of obvious money grab fights. Canelo Khan, Triple G Brook, Cotto Marquez. Well, the Cotto Marquez hasn't happened, and I don't know if it will. Marquez wants it at 148. Cotto, I think, wants it over 150, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Something has to be done to get boxing in a better place. Fans have to do better. Now, that's not really a question. It sounds like, well, I guess the first part is, can we start a movement? And, I mean, realistically, it's just going to take the fans putting their foot down, but it is very hard to rally the troops and get everyone on the same page. You know what I mean? People just love boxing, so we deal and endure with all the bullshit. I've seen so many robberies, premature stoppages, referees getting it wrong, judges getting it wrong, fights that were great fights, Mikey Garcia and Gamboa or whoever, and then they just fall apart. Brandon Rios versus Gamboa, Mayweather versus Pacquiao, we had to wait. You know what I'm saying? So it's just hard because we kind of get used to it as boxing fans, but it would be great to rally the troops. If you guys have ideas of how we can do it and start the real fan movement. I mean, I try to on my channel at least preach what I feel is the truth. You know what I mean? I'm passionate, I'm real about how I feel on here. Give you guys some uncut looks, and you know what I mean, I don't sugarcoat it. So I think it's just gonna take more people in the media to wisen up and start calling out, because there's a lot of people in the media that, in my opinion, they don't do a great job of putting boxing. You could tell their biases and who they hate and who they don't like and who they're rooting for just by the articles they write or the videos they do or whatever they supply, whatever content. So yeah, it's going to take a group effort to make boxing better, and the fans have to realize that the power is in the pocketbooks. So if we stop supporting the bullshit and forking over cash for the good stuff, like the fights like Kovalev Ward, that's a good fight. So people need to start putting their money there. But then the Canelo Smiths or whatever that you said were money grab fights, then people need to stop being so generous and be like, you know what, I'll just catch the highlights on YouTube, or I'm not watching that. You know what I mean? You got to put your foot down. So it's hard, but we as fans probably got to do it. Next question is from James Gordon. I just read about the merge of AT&T and Time Warner. From what I understand, HBO falls into this deal. I haven't really read on it, so I don't know too much. Let me see what your question is. Do you think this could boost the schedule and quality of fights that HBO has provided, given that it was a fairly weak year for them? Yeah, they're at least closing the year strong. They have some good fights on the book, even fights that fell apart. They still, like the Triple G Jacobs, they still have a pretty good lineup for the next couple of months. But I honestly don't know enough about the deal and what it entails. Like, this is kind of news to me, so I don't know what's gonna happen. But based on HBO, this is probably one of their worst years, so I don't think it could be much worse, you know what I mean, unless they're getting out of the boxing business. That's the only way it could really get worse, is if they say, hey, we're not even doing HBO sports anymore, we're not even covering boxing. But other than that, the money they save with the budget cuts, not having too many fights in the first 5 or 6 months, plus this new merger or deal, hopefully they get their programming back, because HBO was the leader in premium boxing for years, and then they kind of let Showtime dictate terms the first half of the year, right? And they're doing good the last 2 months of the year. Next question, I don't want to slaughter your name. Andrea, do you think Dejan Zlaticanin will gain more recognition and respect if he wins against Mikey Garcia? I mean, without a doubt. I mean, he's a champion. He beat Ricky Burns already. He stopped Ivan Redkach, who's a tough Ukrainian fighter who was being praised a little bit. So if he beats Mikey Garcia, I mean, I don't see what you could say about that. You know what I mean? Mikey Garcia is a quality fighter, technical fighter. So if he beats him, then he's the man. He's the first champion ever from my country. I want him to do great. Now I mean, I'll promote him. Like if he wins fair and square, I have no problem. See, that's the thing. What's wrong with boxing? A lot of people have too many like personal ties to these fighters. Like I like Mikey Garcia a lot, you know what I mean? But if Zlaticanin beats him, you know what I mean? Shout out to Money Negro. Like I have no problem with that. If someone wins fair and square, they won, you know what I mean? Next question, Mr. Curson. Will Badou Jack vacate his belt because the two undefeated contenders, Callum Smith and Avni, are waiting for a title shot? Weird question. I mean, I don't understand why he would all of a sudden vacate for Callum Smith, you know what I mean? And this other name, I don't even know how to pronounce that, but these other people who are waiting for a title shot, why would he vacate for contenders? But Badou Jack didn't vacate when he was fighting Anthony Durrell, or he didn't pull out of that fight or anything like that. He didn't vacate to fight George Groves. Looks like he's going to fight James DeGale, who's actually a champion and an Olympic gold medalist. So why would he vacate instead of fighting contenders? Like that, to me, that doesn't make any sense. And I haven't really seen anything in the DNA or patterns or history of Badou Jack that would stipulate that he would vacate. So very weird question. And I don't see him vacating. But I mean, if he does, we'll take it from there. I just don't see why he would vacate after he's already fought game tough names right now. You know what I'm saying? Next question is from Peter K. When will you acknowledge Oscar Valdez, big dog? He's pretty damn good. Another weird question. I don't know what that is. I mean, I've always given praise. Like, you guys got to understand, like, I'm one person, so I tried to cover everything. It's virtually impossible. Boxing is a big sport. But I've made deliberate separate videos about Oscar Valdez on the channel. All you guys can do is simple search on YouTube. Just put Oscar Valdez, Boxingego, and you can see those. I covered his last fight. So I've recognized Oscar Valdez. I told you guys on previous Monday mail days and stuff, people say, who are you checking for? And that was one of the person. You guys have to keep in mind too that this is a brand. This is not just YouTube. At one point it was, but I have 11,000 followers on Facebook, like 45,000 on Instagram, etc. So I talk about those fighters there too. You know what I mean? It's not just if I do a video about them, you know what I mean? Because sometimes videos come as they may, and you sometimes you got to cover the most poppin' trending topics and stuff before anything else. But I mean, I told you guys, Oscar Valdez, he follows me on Instagram, likes a lot of my posts. I always try to shout him out. I did a graphic for him and he reposted it, like, you know what I mean? So I definitely acknowledge him. He's the only Mexican American that has 2 appearances at Olympic Games. He's a skilled fighter. He's a champion, first title defense. I like him. I mean, I don't know what else you guys want me to say, but this is deeper than YouTube. I talk about these fighters on multiple platforms. It may not always be a video, you know what I mean? That has to be news, and Oscar Valdez is one of those people. And I actually just, here, let me, so you guys know what it is, let me show you. Almost 45,000. Just so you guys know, man, this is new media. I don't have to lie or make stuff up. All these posts, right? So clearly before you wrote your question, bam, who is that? 6 days ago, a week ago, 402 likes. Ego Weight Watchers, Valdez looking ready for his first title defense on the Pac Vargas undercard. This is badass. This is what I like to see from the young champions, in shape and working. Props. And I put gators because he has a pet alligator. Puerto Nogales, Sonora, right? That's where he's from. So, I mean, I always try to shout people out. If they're doing, I don't care what you are, what race you are, what your gender is, what your age. If you could scrap, you could scrap. If you're a good fighter and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, then that's what it is. You know what I mean? And you see, I'm getting the conversation going. People are starting to talk more and more about. So I always try to pay tribute to the people who are doing it right. I like what he's doing as a champion. Keep pushing, you know what I mean? But I try to get to everybody, especially if you're doing it the right way. Next question Man, you guys got some difficult names. Cervexin, I don't even know. What's the point of Frampton Cruz 2? I've seen a couple, someone else left that comment in here. I don't see what the problem is. I thought it was a good fight of the year candidate. It was a good fight. It was competitive. Leo Santa Cruz, he was losing early. Then he came on and made it a game effort and won some of the rounds in the second half. The fans liked it. They're going to fight probably on the West Coast next time. I'm all for it. So, I mean, the point is, they're two. I mean, it's not rigging now. They both duck rigging now. But at the end of the day, it was a fun fight. They can make money doing it. And you got to keep in mind, like boxing is a gentleman's sport. Leo Santa Cruz, he was the champion. And he gave Carl Frampton the opportunity. That was Frampton's first fight at the new weight division. So why would he not get a chance back at his belt that he put up? You know what I mean? That's not fair. That's like Eric Morales. He gave Danny Garcia an opportunity to face him and challenge him. So why would Danny Garcia be like, nah? I mean, even though that fight had a rematch clause, but that's like Danny Garcia is like, no, you don't get another shot. You know what I mean? But we gave you a shot. So I don't understand why people are putting that. It was a fun fight. It was an exciting fight. Clearly a money fight. You know what I mean? Like Frampton fighting Cruz makes more money than Frampton fighting a no-name. You know what I mean? And most importantly, like I said, that was his first fight in a new division. And Leo Santa Cruz put his belt on the line, put her on the line. So why would he just hoard the belt and be like, no, you don't get a shot at it? You know what I mean? Maybe there was a rematch clause. I don't know the personal details, but I think that's fair. So I have no problem with it. And the point is, it was an action fight, and it can generate money in a rematch because people liked it. So it's just like saying, why see a Porter Thurman rematch? I mean, down the line, it makes sense. You know what I mean? People liked it, made money. Do it. Next question is from Big Narsty. Yo, Ego, congrats on 50,000. 50K, thank you. Hope you reach 100K this time next year. That would be dope. Question. Thurman versus Garcia, great fight early 2017. Do you think Thurman should fight someone in the meantime before Garcia? Wouldn't be a bad idea, you know what I mean? And it would build the hype. I think, to me, the most logical thing... Let me read the rest of your question. I know he said he won't come back in 2016. However, I feel he may get a little ring rusty by, say, March 2017 expected Garcia date. That's almost 9 months without a fight since Porter in June 2016. Yeah, all solid points. And then before that, he had a long layoff because of the car accident, and then the Collazo fight between Collazo and Thurman was a long layoff. So even though Danny Garcia is fighting someone that no one wants to see him fight, Samuel Vargas, we know the implications should he win that fight. Plus, it's keeping him more active. Whether they had no chance or not, he's still in the ring. He's still going through 2 training camps. Robert Guerrero, some people forget because it was the first month of this year, that Robert Guerrero fight was this year in January. You know what I'm saying? So him fighting Samuel Vargas, he's getting 2 in this year versus Thurman, who had a car accident and 1 fight with Porter, and then his next fight is going to be Garcia. So you have to give the edge and activity to Garcia despite the competition. So I agree. I think it would be wise for Thurman. He's in Japan right now. I seen on his Instagram. I think he should get another fight in. But I mean, I think personally a good fight would be the mandatory. Get that out of the way. David Avince, I mean, he beat Shane Mosley, but I didn't see anything spectacular in him where Keith Thurman shouldn't beat him. You know what I mean? Thurman to this point has beaten higher rated, higher caliber guys. Sean Porter, Diego Chavez, guys like that. So, I mean, I don't think he'll lose to a David Avince. Plus, it'll keep him active. So that's what I would do if I was Thurman's people. I would say, you know what, take on your mandatory. You kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You get that activity before a mega fight. And then also, you take care of your mandatory. So even if you beat Garcia and retain your title, then you don't have to worry about the mandatory for a little bit longer. Next question, James Gordon. Ego, do you think the Tyson knockdown of Douglas count was long? Clearly was. Mike Tyson technically should have won that fight. If you don't believe me, go watch on YouTube. They got the videos. So it definitely was a long count. I don't know why the referee gave him that long, but it's boxing for you. And then Tyson ended up getting knocked out. Next question, Roberto Flores. Ego, when Andre Ward beats Kovalev, what's next for him? Stevenson. I think Stevenson down the line, but light heavyweight is starting to crack. if he beats Kovalev, I assume that it's going to be a pretty tough fight. You know what I mean? Kovalev can crack. He's a good boxer, things like that. So I don't imagine he would go into a Stevenson fight right away. But I think maybe another. I think he would probably take a tune-up fight before another tough fight, like a better Biev. Not even a tune-up fight, but just a regular, you know what I mean, Joe Smith Jr. if he beats Bernard Hopkins, someone more like that, as opposed to a champion, another champion. I don't think he's going to unify right away, but that's just my opinion. Ward, sometimes maybe he wants the challenge and he goes at Stevenson immediately, or Stevenson Elder Alvarez winner, whoever that is, you know what I'm saying? So it's up to him and his team. But I think he would probably fight like I said, like a Joe Smith Jr., a Marcus Brown, the guy that should have beat Marcus Brown on that PBC undercard, Kazakh Vlach, or I forgot his name, something like that, just to, you know, keep him active and stuff, and then probably pursue a tougher fight. Next question, SJ Fish 101. Hey Ego, thanks for the opportunity. Do you think Triple G would get a pass from the hardcores if he does a reverse dare to be great moving down to 154 while still campaigning at 160? The reason why I asked the question is because he has a questionable resume. Yes, he does. The 154 division is very hot. The names there are Hall of Fame-ish to me. Great fighters at 54. At the 30-day weigh-in for Brooke, Golovkin was 165, so I think he can make 154 easy. Hashtag step up resume Triple G. Now, I partly agree with that. I don't think he makes 154 easy. I think that's it. His team is doing a lot of talking in terms of like, oh, he's a small middleweight. He's not that small. He's smaller than maybe other middleweights, but he's not Sergio Martinez small. You know what I mean? And he's not Cotto small. There's a picture of Gennady Golovkin and Cotto looks tiny next to him, and Cotto campaigned at middleweight. So I don't think Golovkin's as small as people are saying. I don't think he's huge at middleweight, but he's clearly powerful. So I don't know. I really don't think he makes 154 easy. That's the long story short. I think middleweight's a right fit for him. He's been there since the late amateur portion of his career, and that's the right fit for him. 154, if it was so easy, I think he probably would have already went down there and challenged Canelo, or he would have took the Canelo weight fight at 155. And his team said they'll beat anyone from 54 to 68. And then as time went on, that got narrowed down to, we'll only go down for Floyd Mayweather. So conveniently, you want to fight the smallest 154 pounder at 154. You don't want to fight Jermell or Jamal Charlo. Not saying he can't beat those guys, but he doesn't want to go down to their weight. And people, you got to keep in mind, when you drop weight, you don't know how you perform. You're looking at Golovkin, the monster, at 160. If he has to take another 6 pounds and he's not comfortable, then that could be something totally different. I just seen an article with Oscar De La Hoya, and he said, I knew Pacquiao was going to beat me. You know what I mean? Because I was a dead man. I was a dead man walking. I already had to get an IV before the fight. He dropped down a weight class. It just wasn't easy for him. And the only difference, they're close in age. I think De La Hoya might have been like 35 at that time. Golovkin is 34, right? The only difference is De La Hoya had been stopped to the body by like Bernard Hopkins, been through wars, and Golovkin hasn't really been through too much punishment or wars, I would say, because his resume hasn't been up there. So I don't think he makes 154 easy. That's the bottom line to it. But he got to do something, and maybe you stress yourself to fight Demetrius Andrade at 158 or something like that, or maybe fight Canelo at 155, 156. I'm not all for the catch weights, but if it's a matter of legacy and you needing a name, and that's the only way to get him in the ring, and you claim to be a small middleweight, then fine. You know what I mean? This is my opinion. I don't think he makes 154 easy, but they keep saying he's a small middleweight, so maybe he can make it. I don't know. I'm not his team. But he's desperately in need of a big name. And I said this in my post-fight video. David Lemieux just had for God knows whatever reason, a pay-per-view fight. And he didn't look that great to me. He clearly won. He won the rounds. But considering the competition, Christian Fabian Rios, I think he clearly, not necessarily because you can't stop everybody, I think he clearly should have looked better. Just absolutely no defense, no head movement, was getting tagged and countered like effectively. It's just Fabian Rios probably didn't have the the big league experience to really exploit it. Plus, he was doing good body work, Lemieux was. So, and that's like what most people consider probably Golovkin's best win. And that's not that good. That's a guy who had just won a title, no title defenses. And the reason I say that is because with no title defenses, even though he won a belt through a vacancy, he had no title defenses, meaning we don't know who else top level at middleweight Lemieux would lose to because he hasn't fought them. If he fought Curtis Stevens may be able to beat him. Peter Quillen may be able to beat him. Andy Lee may be able to beat him. Billy Joe Saunders may be able to beat him. Danny Jacobs. But he didn't fight any of those. He just immediately went to the big bad wolf, the guy who's the top of the division, which is Golovkin, and then he lost. And he got dominated. He won 0 rounds. You know what I'm saying? He got knocked down and he got stopped. And he got punched while he took a knee because Golovkin was just trying to take his head off. So that's the best name on Golovkin's resume. He needs somebody ASAP. This is a guy, Lemieux, he's a good fighter. He's fun to watch, but he's been stopped before by Marco Antonio Rubio, another guy that Golovkin ran through. Pause. And then he also lost his very next fight against Joachim Alcine, who later ended up losing to Matthew Macklin, another guy Golovkin ran through. I think Macklin knocked him out, Joachim Alcine, in 1 round. And then Alcine later lost to the Charlo brother and got stopped in that fight too. So, I mean, that's the guy's pedigree. The best guy, you know what I mean? The best guy on your resume lost to Joachim Alcine, who later lost to Matthew Macklin and the Charlo brother. And this is the best name, you know what I'm saying? So, Golovkin, he definitely got to fight someone. And next question is from Mr. Ibrahim. What do you think about Khan saying Canelo was 180 to 190 pounds on fight night? Can you cut that much water weight safely? And congrats on passing 50,000 subs. Keep up the hard work. I don't know. I mean, that's a lot of weight. I don't know how Khan would know that for a fact. I don't know if they did like an unofficial weigh-in, but that's a lot of weight. Like, I know Canelo, I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo's like 178, but 180, 190, I don't really know. I mean, he has like a thick body type, pause, but I don't know. So I don't really know how Khan, maybe that was his eye test. I don't know if Canelo looked quite 180, 190. Because to me, when I think of 190, I think Chavez Jr., when he fought Sergio Maravilla Martinez, he looked like he was 190, 195. So I don't know if Canelo was quite that big. And Chavez Jr. is like 6 feet, or at least 6 feet tall. Canelo's short, so I don't know if he was carrying that type of weight. But who knows? Maybe there's something Khan knows. And actually, I feel like let me answer a few more questions because I feel like this was shorter than, I was actually going to the store. I'm going to get a new iMac. So I'm going to go to the store. So let me answer a few more questions. I feel like this was real short. In my opinion, sports, have you even went to sleep yet? Laugh out loud. No. Sleep is for broke people. That's what 50 Cent says. Ivan Drago. Hey, Ego, I love your channel. Thank you. Learned a lot about boxing thanks to you. My question is, styles make fights. Who out of the current welterweights plus Crawford would be the most challenging for Floyd? I know he really has nothing to prove, but would have been great to see him one more last time against someone like Crawford, Spence, or Thurman. These are probably not really money fights, but in terms of pure boxing, are great matchups. P.S. I don't get why people keep trying to match Floyd with Triple G. That fight makes no sense. I mean, honestly, a lot of people who are pushing for Floyd Triple G, they think Triple G will beat him, and they just want to see him lose. That's cut and dry. That's what it is. They want, it's a big puncher. It's a guy who called out Floyd, so let's match them together. Same thing when Sergio Martinez knocked out Paul Williams, and he said he'll fight Pacquiao or Floyd at a catchweight. They were pushing for that. They just want to see the man lose, and they don't care who's doing it. You know what I mean? As long as there's somebody. All those fights are great. You know what I mean? To me, the toughest fights for him would be Crawford or Errol Spence Jr., but it's not really realistic. Errol Spence Jr. and him are boys, and they've sparred together. I don't think that fight would happen, right? Plus, it's funny, and that's another person. People are like, why doesn't Floyd fight Errol Spence Jr., knowing that they're friends or buddies or whatever? But then when it comes to Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman, they say, he shouldn't fight Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman is on a different level, or Keith Thurman doesn't have to stoop to his level. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, why don't you want to see that? But I think that would be clearly a tough fight. I think he gave Floyd a black eye, and Floyd's older, and Errol Spence just stays on top of you. So, I mean, that would be a good fight. Crawford, because they both have dogs. I think Crawford could bring the best out of him skill set wise because of the switch hitting and stuff like that. So Errol and Terrence Crawford would probably be the tallest. I think Floyd, against certain African American fighters who have a certain skill set, I mean, he tends to get caught a little bit more. Zab Judah, DeMarcus Corley, Shane Mosley. Even though Shane Mosley is not really what I call slick, he still has maybe like just different athleticism and speed that you don't find with certain fighters, certain style of fighters or whatever. Okay, Elvis Diaz has a question. Senor Ego, who do you think that Bud Crawford should fight next at 140? I feel that the 140 division is buns, and it's all easy work for Bud. And also, do you see Bud going up to 147? If so, when do you think that should happen? Thanks, Ego. Keep up the great work. Yeah, 140 is not packed. Like when Danny Garcia was down there was a lot of good names. And I mean, I would like to see Terrence Crawford versus Lucas Matisse. He got stopped in his last fight. I heard he might go up to 147 in 2017, so I don't think that's realistic. Ruslan Provodnikov, he got outboxed by John Molina, so I don't really know if there's a market for that fight. But he's a name. John Molina, I mean, there's not really that many names at 140, and this is what I feared for him. After he beat Victor Postal in the fashion that he did, I figured, like, man, who's going to want to fight him, and who else is there to fight? Those were the number 1 and 2 guys in the division. Postal had just beaten Lucas Matisse versus a stoppage, or by a stoppage, and you know what I mean? I knew that him actually beating him would do this, where it's like, who should he fight next? You know what I mean? It's not really that many great names. That's just my opinion. A fight that I would actually love to see, if Robert Easter Jr. has a couple more fights, like 1 or 2 more fights, and does good in them, and then he wants to move up and fight Crawford at 140, I would love to see that. Easter Jr., I think, clearly has power. I think his power could carry up. He's 5'11", so he might be about Victor Postal's size. But he might be a little skinnier, but that's a good fight. I would like to see that. I think that'd be a good build-up. If not, maybe Terrence Crawford versus Danny Garcia. I don't know if he would want to move up to 47. Crawford versus Pacquiao, or Mikey Garcia if he wants to move up and try to avenge Crawford's amateur win over him. So those are the fights that come up, but realistically speaking, next, I doubt any of those would happen. Like the Pacquiao, Garcia, Mikey, Danny Garcia, none of that really looks realistic to happen next. So I heard that Crawford may fight December 10th against Orozco. We'll see. Cedric Trailer, hey Ego, what's your opinion of the WBO president blasting Triple G for not fighting Ward at 168 when he had a chance to? Good to know people are starting to see how Triple G got a pass from the media when his team rejected the fight. Damn, hope insurance is great to have. Your thoughts, Ego? By the way, loving all the new graphics on your channel. Shout out to that. Keep up the good work. I mean, it's funny because I was one of the people who, you guys don't have to take my word for it. Go to YouTube and type it in, right? Here, let me show you guys. I was one of the people who were calling for this. So you look at my channel, Andre Ward calls out Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin demands 50-50 split. Ego Valley video 1 year ago, 43,000 views. Right? Floyd Mayweather, Triple G, beat Andre Ward, then I'll fight you. 6 months ago, right? I talked to Glenn Tapia. Triple G should have fought Andre Ward. Right? And there's several videos like this on the channel. Floyd Mayweather, Ward beats Triple G. Troy King, Floyd Mayweather's Drake, Triple G is Meek Mill, Golovkin versus Ward. You know what I mean? And that was months ago, 12 months ago, 11 months ago. And the list goes on and on and on. So I've done several videos about this. Triple G not a victim of his own talent had a chance to fight Andre Ward. That's the interview I did with Roy Jones 6 months ago. So it's funny to see people now talking about it. 1 year ago, Andre SOG Ward versus Triple G, Little G Golovkin beef, Ego Valley. I've been talking about it. So it's just funny to see, like you're saying, like now people, WBO president, all this, it's old news to me. You know what I mean? Ward already went up to light heavyweight, and now people are still just now talking about it. You know what I mean? And I knew this was going to happen, and it's really because I'm just going to be real. Triple G was running around coining the term Mexican style, and yeah, I want to fight like Chavez, and right, and people were down for that, and they're like, oh, cool. But now that it created a rift, because now he's Triple G was Mexican style, and I know a lot of people didn't have a problem with that, but now there's an immense pressure for Canelo Triple G. So now you see a split where some of those same fans who were down for Triple G beating Rubio and coining the Mexican style, it divided the people. Some people are still siding with Triple G, and they think Canelo's a chicken, but then some people, they're like dissing Triple G, whereas they weren't dissing them back then. You know what I mean? And when I was doing videos, like you guys, I remember the comments, and I remember people's username and stuff. When I was doing videos like this, Andre SOG Ward versus Gennady Little G Golovkin beef a year ago, when I was doing those videos, some of those same people that are now, because their fighter, let's say they love Canelo, their fighter is now under pressure to fight Golovkin. Now all of a sudden they're saying, oh, look at Golovkin's resume, who is he fought, who is he beat. But at the time they weren't saying that a year ago. But it's just funny how a year changes things in boxing. People, they were mad at me because I was saying he should fight Ward. You can't really blame Golovkin's team for swerving this fight. Ward would enjoyed a big size advantage. Saw this on another site and liked it. Gonna steal it. Whether you like Triple G or not, K2 made him a star with or without quality opponents. See, you know what I mean? People are making excuses and stuff. Ward, stop trying to fuck up Triple G versus Canelo. Go beat up some bums, some more bums, until you become relevant again. Shaking my head. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? People weren't, back then, I was talking about this fight. Ward fight the same style over and over again, and people didn't want to see it. Now all of a sudden everyone's on the bandwagon like, yeah, he's ducking him. But they weren't calling it a duck, right? They weren't calling it a duck back then. So this is, to me, realistically, this is not any new news for me. This is what I've been saying. Team Triple D, they clearly didn't want the fight with Andre Ward, and that's really what it boils down to. Interview Mr. Fab. Andre Ward is the Ronda Rousey of boxing, and Floyd is the biggest pussy. Triple G is the best pound for pound. Ha ha ha, what a bigoted idiot. You know what I'm saying? See, these are the comments. Y'all didn't want it then. Floyd fought everyone under his conditions. Don't start with this Ward versus Triple G. Just enjoy the video. Golovkin ducking Ward is getting old. See? You guys didn't want to hear it. But now all of a sudden, since Canelo is the target, it's, oh, he ducked him. But y'all weren't saying he was ducking him. Haha, ain't Ward 2 weight divisions bigger than Triple G? See, excuses. And people, see, these are dumb comments to me, because at the time he was at 168 and Triple G was at 160, so he wasn't 2 divisions. But after Ward seen that Triple G didn't want to fight and the team hung up on him or whatever, then he was like, all right, whatever. And he struck the deal with HBO to have 2 tune-up fights and then fight Kovalev at 75. So he's like, okay, you don't want to scrap. It is what it is. I'm not going to waste my career. He didn't want it. So Triple G has to go up to 168 to fight Ward at a 10+ pound advantage to gain the privilege and go down. You see? And you want to be, that's what I'm saying. So that wraps it up. You guys see what it is. Now all of a sudden people are calling this a duck, but when I was saying that his team clearly avoided the fight, no one seemed to have any concept of it. Let me know what you guys think. Monday mail day, try to get to a good amount of questions. I got to get this computer. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video as always. Hey, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.